Put down the mic. Hello, church.
Hello.
Okay. So I have 3 kids. The older one, Kene, when she was 3 years old, this is 10 years ago, she had frequent ear infections. The ENT suggested that we put the ear tubes, laryngectomy tubes in her ears. It was both ears. This was supposed to have just fallen off on its own after a year, and nothing happened after a year. We went back 6 months and we were told to wait another 6 months, which we did, so then it ended up being 2 more years, about 2 years. When we went back after 2 years to have it taken out, he took it out and he saw a huge hole at the back of her eardrum. A very nice C-section, it's a little C with a real deep hole. And we actually thought that she wasn't gonna, she was gonna lose some of her hearing, but that didn't happen. Apparently, it closes on its own. The cells reconstruct and they do close on its own. So for the 6 years after, we prayed, it was a prayer that this hole would heal on its own, and that didn't happen. So then she started getting the infections. She couldn't go into the swimming pool. She couldn't, anything to do with water. We had to be very cautious. And of course, every summer came around and I would forget that she had a hole in the eardrum and she would get in the pool and it would get infected. So the past 3 years has been just painful. She would get in the pool and you're talking of not just a little pain. This girl had to take Tylenol with codeine. We had to put eardrops, antibiotic, as well as orally take antibiotic as well. You're talking of pus coming out of this ear. I'm not talking of little, it's just oozing out. You're talking of huge swelling around the ear. She can't get up, she couldn't look at the light, this was painful and it would go on for 3-4 days. And the past 2 years, it became frequent. She was having it 2-3 times in a year. So we were referred to a surgeon who was supposed to seal the hole. How he was going to do that, I don't know. Apparently, he was going to sew it up and then put a skin graft over it. The explanation I was given, it was that he was going to go behind the ear, incision behind the ear, to the eardrum, from the back of the ear. I don't know if anybody can imagine it. And it was going to be that painful. She was going to be out for 7-10 days with so much pain. So this was last fall, and we got out, and I told Kene, you know what? We should just keep praying. God would make it heal, or you don't have to go through this gruesome surgeries. And then, of course, it got infected again. This was just having a shower with a shower cup over her ears and still just a little tiny drop of water in the ear. It got worse. So we saw the surgeon, and July 27th, baptism was August 2nd. He told us this surgery needs to be done because this is getting worse. He guaranteed that this is not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And we said, okay, we'll do the surgery. And he actually had to take somebody off for the August 25th and put Kene down for the surgery. Kene was adamant she wanted to have baptism. She wanted to be baptized. I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? This is not going to work. You're just going to get infected again and it's going to get worse. And then the nurse over there said, they sell little things, kind of like Play-Doh, moldy things you could just put in here and it would literally seal the hole and nothing would happen. And so she went in the pool. She got baptized August 2nd. We got home that evening, she complained of earache. I gave her Tylenol, I put a drop in her ear. And of course, I'm expecting the worst. And it wasn't, it was just clear fluid coming out of her ear. And from then on till the 25th of August, my prayer was that God give me strength to be able to just look after this child who's going to be in tremendous pain. God lessened the time, the time of healing should just shorten. I didn't pray that God took it away because I prayed for 6 years that he takes it away and nothing happened. So August 25th, I'm always late. I tell you, I'm always late for everywhere I go. If I'm early, it's like 10 minutes early or 5 minutes early. But this time I got there like an hour early. Why, I don't know, but I got there an hour early. We went through the whole, 9 yards, and then she was ready to be wheeled to the OR. She held my hand and she started singing, "There's hope in front of me, Danny Goki." And she sang it and she carried on singing and she was smiling and she had a smile on her face, and I have to be strong for her. So I tried. And she was wheeled to the OR. Now, I'm in the waiting area, waiting 35 minutes into the surgery. This surgery was supposed to take an hour and a half. 35 minutes, I see the surgeon come in. And of course, I'm like, what happened? And this is what he tells me. Literally, I'm not kidding. He goes, "I'm embarrassed. I am so embarrassed. This is embarrassing. Oh, this is so embarrassing. This is very embarrassing." It's real drama in the waiting area, and he's going on. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, what have you done to my daughter? What happened? He plummets himself into the chair and he looks at me and he goes, "There's no hole." Now, I started laughing so hysterically. You would think that somebody just gave me laughing gas. I was just laughing. I didn't understand why I was laughing, but I was just laughing. And then he said, "This is a miracle." And then I stopped laughing. I'm like, yeah, this is a miracle. And then he said, "You don't understand, Mrs. Sims. I have to explain something to you. There is no hole. There is not a scar tissue. No demarcation around the eardrum to even prove that there was a hole there in the first place." He said, "You don't understand what I'm talking to you about. This is a miracle." And then he proceeded to ask, "What did you do from the last time I saw you till now?" I said, "Kene got baptized." And he looks at me and he said, "I think baptism healed your daughter. You need to call your minister and let him know that baptism has healed your daughter." I didn't say any of that. I didn't say anything about miracle. I didn't say anything about, but somehow he saw that as a miracle. He tells me he's operated on 1,400 patients, and never once has he seen anything like that before. Wow. This man was stunned. He sat there all stunned. He said to me, "What do I tell these people in the OR? I have 2 anesthesiologists waiting for me. I have nurses in there. I have medical interns waiting for me." He took pictures the day we saw him before the surgery was scheduled. And I looked at him and I said, "I saw the hole. The ENT did see the hole. You saw this hole last fall. You took pictures the week before baptism. You have these pictures hanging on the wall. What is there to tell them? Those who want to believe should believe, and those who do not want to believe, they..." So then he went back to the OR, and it was a struggle to leave the waiting room to go back to the OR because he couldn't walk. He's just looking at me and said, "It's a miracle." He kept saying, "It's a miracle." And then he left. I went to the OR, and I don't even know how to explain this. I got to the OR, Kene is sleeping. She has no idea what is going on. There were nurses from different wards come over to that ward because they had heard that Dr. Hansen is calling something a miracle, and they want to see what this miracle is. She's laying there, the nurse is touching her feet and touching her body, as though when they touch her, they will be healed from whatever situation. There were nurses there that came up to me and said, "If it was a different surgeon, I'll tell you to seek a second opinion, but not with this doctor, not with this surgeon." People started out of nowhere talking about their testimonies of faith. And then 3 believers, 3 nurses, spirit-filled, born-again believers, held my hand, prayed, thanking God for this miracle. They were so excited, they said, "There are Catholics here and there are non-believers here. This is somebody that is not part of us. So they would think that this whole thing was, fabricated. We didn't know Kene. Kene just walked in. And for this to be happening to somebody we do not know, and for a surgeon to call it a miracle, it's a beautiful thing, because then now people would believe. I'm standing there stunned. I'm smiling all over the place thinking, where am I, Lord? Where am I? I was telling Barbara, my feet felt so light. I felt this elevation. It didn't feel like I was in a hospital. It felt like I was somewhere else, a healing ground. Everybody would walk past. It was such a beautiful thing. Everybody would walk past and they would say, this is a miracle. And then there's a smile. And, the patient next door recovering would just, tilt a little bit of their curtain and look and go, oh, how are you doing? It's a miracle. Thank God. It was such a beautiful thing. And I felt like I was walking through scriptures. In the waiting area, there were people who believed. There were people who believed, got up, smiled, looked at me, and said, thank God, it's a miracle. And there were others who just sat there and said, you should book another appointment. He probably missed it. He probably missed it. You believe this? This is not right. You should book another appointment. I said, oh, I do believe it's a miracle, right? Because if he's saying it's a miracle, it is a miracle. But, I went around looking for little verses. 2 Chronicles, do not fear or be dismayed because of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours, but it's God's. And I saw that. I saw that with Kene. She had so much confidence. I told her, let's wait. She said, no, Mommy, let's get this over and done with. I don't want to stay with this pain anymore. I want to swim next year. And so somehow, with the hope that she sang this hope in front of her, and literally there was hope in front of her. She was just wheeled in and out of that place with no hope. Now, as to whether Kene got healed during baptism, or at that very particular moment when she was wheeled into the UR, I cannot tell. But what I know is that God chose that moment. It could have been that 6 years I was praying that God should just heal this hole, and nothing happened. Why did he choose the symbolism of baptism to heal Kene? So no man can dispute that he did it. That the Holy Spirit did something to this child. And he came up to me, the surgeon came up to me and said, I am so sorry for all this, it's a waste of time. She's just lying there in anesthesia. And I looked at him and I said, no, don't be sorry. This is a beautiful thing. This had to happen. This is the story. This is the testimony. Without this, there'll be nothing to talk about. So her laying here is for a reason, and it's okay, she'll be fine. And he smiled and walked away, and I said, Dr. Nancy, you know what this means, right? You'll be getting a lot of phone calls. Let them call me. Let them call me, I'll answer it. God has been amazing. She got up and she smiled. I told her, Kene, you're healing. She smiled as though to say, I knew that the surgery wasn't going to happen. And so for everybody, I've been praying that, Father God, this testimony is not just for Kene, not just for me, but it's also for his glory, to let people who know that, there is no hope. In fact, there is hope. I walked in there with no hope, with the fear of what I'm going to do after the surgery. And the Lord decided to do something else. So keep hoping, and his grace and mercy is abundant and alive, and he will meet you there. Thank you.
How true is that? As we go through the scriptures today, it's just